you some of my work. Welcome to my show. Enjoy. Hi, my name is Warapot Songjalan, and I would like to present you some of my work. Hi, my name is Warapot Songjalan. Welcome you to my electronic portfolio. Hi, my name is Warapot Songjalan. I would like to welcome you to my electronic portfolio. Enjoy!
My name is Yao, and I'm forced by this man Paul to do this course demonstration of the PC, and I'm talking to a computer right now. Just moments ago, I told the computer didn't do that, but I guess that's about it. Well, what should I say? Guess I don't have much to say, Paul. My name is Yao, and I'm here to give a demonstration of the Power Macintosh running on my CD. CD crate for Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. It's a demonstration package to incorporate the communication of two objects and using the power of Macintosh. We're mostly using Director to do programmings, as well as some other third-party filters, whatever software to help us creating applications. We have the prototypes, and actually we are in the stage of refining a coming up beta version for our work. It has been accepted.
Ready?
I'm almost ready. Ready.
สวัสดีครับ ผมวรพจน์
Bring up my record.
Yeah.
Number 2. And just save. I hate that image. Face, and we'll load into the cube. Basically, what you see here is there's two differences in the way they organize your file. You have the library, which is basically just that, it's a library. When you go ahead and come into the software, you basically check your books out. And it's kind of an organizational thing. That way you're only dealing with a set number of images, and you can just kind of keep the rest off until you need them. So we'll load all these up, I suppose. I'll get rid of them. And load the rest of these up.
In case you don't remember where you were in the demo, you were at the point of compositing.
Oh, yeah.
2 point, walking,
That, and then we'll get rid of that. Okay, so. It is a big file, isn't it?
but it is going faster now, the system, since you booted it.
Yeah, it's going faster while it's converting too, which is always a nice sign. Hopefully it'll finish at a certain point. We'll be able to show you how
It's
it
converting faster.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to move on to paste. Barco is very well known for its paste functions. I hope I answered all your questions about the brushes sufficiently.
No, sir.
Oh, by the way, all the special brushes, you can use them with your transfer brush as well, or your retouch brush, so it's not just pigment that you'll be dealing with. Also with your paste ons. So when I make a cutout, say, of her mouth, this cut box is sizable and adjustable. It doesn't do it when you hit it, so I can do it disproportionately or proportionally.
Rick, I mentioned to everybody else, we're familiar with Superset, but we haven't worked on Superset. So if ever you have comparisons or there's anything you could share with us as to how it does something versus how this does something, we're happy to hear that.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. reset that. Now, barcodes are very well known for its work, and what I want you to keep in mind while doing all this warping is that you can do it with a mask as well.
Do with what?
Mask.
Okay.
Any system can do a 0 to 100% mask, but they cannot warp it onto a surface to make it look three-dimensional afterwards, and I'll show you an example of that in a bit. Anyway, what you see here is our cut box. We can do any, we can of course always reset it to where it came from, so we'll do any kind of sizing necessary beforehand, before we actually do our work. Right now we're on 4-point perspective, and so we can just do a quick 4-point perspective shift here. You can of course rotate this, and you have the ability to adjust these points freely. It's telling you right now with those lines there's no way that it's going to look like what you want it to in the end because you just have gone too far. So basically what we do is we take these points back, we do our initial adjustment, and I'll show you 2-point in a bit with better subject, but we'll go back and copy, and size this back down. So there's our initial warp, but every system has the ability to do what I've just done. We can then take out the parameters box. And basically what this does is that you're selecting a grid, kind of lattice, with which you're going to form what's inside. These are infinitely adjustable. I think I can add up to 99 divisions, maybe more. I haven't tried it yet. Needless to say, 99 is probably more than you ought to need. Let's just get 3 for now. 3. Oops, not quite 30. And once we click on edit, these points are now editable. Right now we're doing it with the auto controls on, which means that you basically move the points and it kind of decides what the curve along this lattice grid should be. Everywhere these lines cross is what's called an anchor point. It's kind of like your line arc, except right now you've got a raster image kind of attached to it. You can save these grids, so if I get a grid that I like, I can apply it to many different images just by saving them in the library. In any case, this is with the automatic controls on. If I turn them off, I have a Bezier curve, so it means I can leave the anchor point static and move what's around it. Right here, I can stay grab the whole line, and we'll press sharp. Now, if this is what we would like, perhaps not, we can decide to then apply it to the image. And what you do is we'll start crunching, and you have the ability to lay that paste on with brush, but at which point it kind of calculates as you go, which I find to be a little inefficient. I would it over with, and then I can go in and apply pigment. So I can now go in and apply this with my brush. And then on it. I keep on telling George that we need to get some pictures of the men in here, or I'm going to seem horribly misogynistic. But anyway, so we can kind of paint these lips in, and if we decide that that's not quite what we're, for instance, if I move over too far, again, keep in mind we can go back to retouch and just paint it away. Keep in mind the skipping that you're seeing in the brush is this over here. So we can brush that back.
So if this wasn't happening, it would be smoother.
Well, you bet. But again, it's some pretty heavy-duty CPU stuff that's going on over there. We're lucky we're being able to do it all in the end. And if we decide this is not at all what we want, we can, of course, always drag a window and knock it out. Also keep in mind that it's not the image that you're working on. You don't have to make a cut out of that area. If I wanted to, I can say, come in and paste. Again, forgive me that. So we reject the warp, and we can reset this. It's about the same size as the image we're working on. go to transfer, we can resize this. What I'm going to do now is show you the 2-point paste. In addition to the warp when I'm finished working, by pressing sharp and selecting 2 points in the pasted image that we want to kind of base our placement and size on, well, go ahead and select 2 points. Sharp. We can just select 2 points. And now all sizing and rotation are going to be based upon these 2 points. And again, this will move much more smoothly if
you had that image zoomed up, could you select your points and then bring it back down?
I'm sorry?
Like this image of the dog, you brought it down in size. Okay, what if you had it larger? Would you select your points and then zoom it back down to your placement? So you can see
Oh, as far as the woman is concerned?
as far as the dog. Say you needed more detail, you needed to pull it up here. To select your points.
Oh, yeah.
Once you've selected them, then you can zoom that back down.
Right, well, for instance, if we went in and we can do a basic placement like this. Now, the system always remembers the last page. It always remembers exactly where it came from, so I can go bounce back and forth between menus if I choose so. Now, if I drop this a certain level and I want to come in on the dog to kind of refine where those 2 points are being laid down, I just get the basic setup here, go back to my canvas view, and do just a hard zoom in a certain area, a general area where I know that the eyes are going to be. We come in on that area, maybe you can zoom a little bit more. Go back to paste. Select the dog, and the dog is exactly where it used to be. We just press on sharp and it shows us. And that's the method, and we'll just go ahead and go back to 2-point here, and just select our 2 points. So, right. And again, once you're finished doing this, you can always go back to edit and do a kind of a basic warp. Let's say you know that you're going to warp it on later on, and then you want to come in and select those 2 points. You can do a basic warp first, and then go back to 2 points. And select your points again. So it doesn't matter at which point you can always go back to the basic forms of warp. So if I go, say, to 4-point perspective, if I want to do an edit, move a point, and then go back and then mess around with the perspective. So it alters it as you go, which means that it's pretty open to how you want to go in and actually work with this thing. And if you press reset, it enters your grid. You don't blow away your grid if you just want to get back to the original format. So let's see, we go down here, and I'm going to reject my parameters because I want to demonstrate something here. I'll go to 2-point, just do a basic layout, times take, bounce it back and forth, and we'll go down and select our 2 points. Now, yet another thing that you don't necessarily have to zoom in on this, we can always size it up. So if you want to save yourself a step, rather than switching menus, I can just blow this damn thing up. And you have a fine adjust, so if I want to go in and say, blow this up to 150, I've used the fine adjust and blown it up to 150%. I can always key in anything over on the side. If I want to boost it 1% in size, or even 100th of a percent, I have the ability to key in over here, as well as X and Y position. So if you really want to tweak it as far as how placement is, I can move this over to 430. That's the origin. So we get our 2-point here, and we make it sharp. And we select our 2 points, and size it down. Now keep in mind I'm placing these according to the eye, and also keep in mind that we have lots of good. If we want to do a conversion over here, turn off the copy file, and just lay the 2 points down over her eyes.
That'd be one of the biggest poster files I've ever seen in my life. How big did you say it was?
How big is that PostScript file? What?
It's 12 meg.
12 meg.
12 meg post profile?
Yeah.
It's a big
It's,
post.
yeah, it's very big one.
A lot of elements?
Yeah, I think
Very
so.
complex
Yeah.
drawing.
Yeah, that's the big one so far I saw too.
I've never seen a 12 meg post profile.
Great image.
Yeah, very.
We want to
very
rip it anyway, just for
nice,
ourselves,
yeah.
just to see how it comes out.
What, did it zoom through it all at once?
No. It's still converting. I think it just confused the thermometer.
Kind of warning or something.
No, it's using a minimal alignment because it's such a complicated file. But what happened here is that you've got to, because it's so complicated, I think that it had a little heart flutter there and it confused the thermometer. So you can see it's still converting over here, but doing some kind of complicated fill or something. So it's still chugging. It's just the thermometer's a little confused. But we'll let that keep going. And what I'm going to do here is I can then come in to edit this and start warping. So I can also construct this warp grid. I can strategically place things to where, let's say, I want more horizontal divisions. So if I want to get something more accurately towards the eyes, 70, whoa, not 75.
So you add more grid on that.
Right, you can use anywhere up to 99 in both directions.
Wow. How big is the limit of the image when you apply the grid on? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Like
matter.
whatever.
Whatever you want to warp. Now, obviously, because you have the ability to seamlessly warp in exactly what you want,
Yeah.
one of the things you should do is cut out the part you want to warp separately, and then paste it back in when you're done. Why work with a bigger file than you need to?
So now, keep in mind what I'm doing right here is that I did my initial paste in. Now, the warp might seem to you an initial like whiz-bang thing. It's like, oh, when am I going to use that? But what I just used it for is to kind of place the nose a little bit more according to where I want it to go rather than where the image wants it to go. And we also have a little, we can leave that anchored in and change the placement of keep the nose where it is and just change the size of the tongue. Because I know that when I'm going to actually lay this down, I want the nose to remain static and just change the size of the actual mouth. I'm not sure if it's making me look bad. Right, so let's say that's what I want, rather than belabor the point here. I'll come into retouch. I'll select an area where I want this retouching to go on. Again, this is also narrowing down the possibilities of applying the brush, so it's only dealing with the chunk of it when I need it to. I can ignore what's going on around it, just bring up the brush size, and I can...
So anything outside of the selected area?
It won't... Well, it gives you like a little leeway, I mean, but it gives you like maybe kind of yay big, but basically, yes, it's just inside this area, so it's a little bit more efficient that way. And I'll do this with my circle brush and come on here and just start brushing this in. And I'll use my pass to get back up.
Makes sense, because you're generally only working on a portion at a time.
Exactly.
And you're doing an overall correction, color correction.
Not to mention the fact is that, we're dealing with brushes here. I want to brush this on. Now, if I were to smack it all down at one time, then that's not important, of course. But when you're brushing it on, it's a local application. And it doesn't make sense to just use the brush function that they've got on here because it doesn't make much sense. That's not an efficient way to work.
Did you date her once, man?
Come now, that's rather sexist. That one of the main reasons why. I'm being very honest. I'm not being politically correct. I just wish we could get some more men in here because it does look really bad when I.
Linda doesn't mind. She's gonna blab to all her friends.
I like dogs. It's okay.
We're just making a more attractive dog rather than a less attractive woman here. This is what we're doing.
Man's best friend.
So keep in mind that what I'm doing here is that I'm adding the fur, and I'm over adding because I know that I'm going to paint back in the end. We can also drop a brush down here and say, give a little punch to the individual layers.
Different modes, like a watercolor mode or a...
When you say watercolor, what exactly do you mean by that? We have a water mode which just adds hue and value, hue and saturation rather than value.
Say you just want to go through the light areas and do that.
You'd have to mask that up. You would have to mask off with luminance mask. It's got a real nice masking tool, so that's very possible. But
So you have to create a mask that would mask up the dark areas and just allow the lights to...
exactly.
We can, on the super set, we can set color, watercolor, and when we pull through, it can only pull through the lighter areas than what's there.
Can you control that, or is it just kind of that's what it does?
It's on or off.
Okay.
Or we can control the opacity of pulling it through.
But you can't control the level of luminance that you're dragging through. Okay, fair enough. If you don't want that control, that's fine. But you're with your mask, you're basically telling it how much luminance to pull through. So it depends on how you want to work. Right. So I've got this. Let's. Okay. So we want to come in with our brush and brush through areas. So we'll zoom in on it and take our brush and just kind of brush back some areas. I think you get the point. And we can always revert them back to normal. Those are our basic pasting techniques.
Let me ask you a question here. What if we needed to take a number of elements and we needed to place them very critical position to one another? Like the way we do it now on the superset, we can say, I just got this, right? So I just got this fax layout, and we're going to position these characters separate and all these buildings separate. And they're going to be critical to the position of one another. Now on the superset, they're going to send me a clean layout that I can see. We can tape it right down here and calibrate the palette to the monitor. Get a similar type of...
Now, if we want to, let's see, we can just do this free cam. Here's a setting on the tablet. Now, you can do it this way, which is a real basic way to go about it. A lot of our customers will actually shoot a litho of this layout or what have you. And so you can see we can do a sketch of it, and you'll basically get your piece of line art. Now I can go back and raster art and just turn this line art on. So it's not present in the raster image. You're using it with a template.
So what would I do? Set up a canvas at a certain size?
It's just the particular dimension that you wanted, like whatever, and you just take this down and trace it through it. Or if you wanted to, in line art, let's delete that here.
Well, if that's the case, then can't I just tape this down once I set my, if I set my canvas so it's proportional to this, then I can just pick these points? Or do I have to trace it out?
Yeah, you could if you created individual points, but this is working more on line work rather than individual points. If we went down to create and digitize, every time I touch down here, it's going to be creating a... Oh, so just to get a basic outline, yes, you can go along here and create a basic outline. You don't have to trace it, per se. if you were looking at just individual points with no lines connecting them, or
No, I'm just saying, once you get the, say, the proportions of this, and, you know, if you set up your canvas so it's proportional to that,
right?
then how do I size my image up?
Can you
Do I have to
calibrate
trace it out?
what's here on the tablet to what's here?
Oh, can I say, let's say the tablet make the dimensions of what's on the tablet boost
Say
inside?
you would pick a corner here, pick a corner here,
Mm.
and have calibrate this tablet to what
Sure.
you have up on here.
Why don't you go to a clean canvas?
'Cause we do a lot of this type of thing where
One of the things I would also recommend is there's an option on the Wacom to get an electrostatic Wacom so that you can literally turn it on, put the piece of paper down, and it'll suck it down and hold it in place. You don't have to hold it or tape it or do anything to it. So,
Okay, so if we want to know, again, because the line art is basically you can make the line art any size and just create a canvas and size it up. So I mean, the actual size of the line art is not a real big issue until you have to make it fit into a canvas. So if your line art is proportional to how you want it to look, then yeah, sure. I mean, if I want to say go into line art and create digitizers, so close curve, sure, you can do that. You probably want to do it without any control points in here, so. There's also a method on here where you actually set it up and you can make the digitizer, I'm probably set up improperly right now, but if you go into raster art, take a look at this setup. You can make this uniform, and so if it's ununiform, then the area spreads out over the entire tablet. So you have an entire working surface. When it's uniform, it takes part of the tablet and it ignores it, so it's sized to the screen. So I should probably do that again, so it looks a little bit more accurate. So let's go back and actually delete this whole thing, get rid of that, go back to digitize, and just create our outline. Place it here. So here's the edge of this side, off the edge of the canvas, and here's the edge on the other side. So you see it's taken off some of the tablet, and we just come along here and find this. So you have to keep in mind that part of this tablet is allocated to the control panel. So you might even want to say, find out where exactly the control panel is, and then you'll have your active area. If it's that crucial to where you need to know exactly where the center of this is.
But when we get layouts like this, when we put this together, we have to be as accurate as this is.
Right.
So that
Well, I can also take this, even if it is off center, you can always position. Thank you. Lost my English there for a moment. You know, I always kind of ignore what the line work comes in at or what it's created at. You can always resize it, put it on the canvas, and rip it at a different size, or work with it at a different size. Anyway, so let's delete this. Go back into raster art and select this. Where was I? Yes. So those are some of the face functions. Actually, most of them. Go back to the face, and we want to replace what we've done here. Got a few smudge marks that I need to get rid of. There we go. Those are our basic pasting functions. Now, if I were to want to select something to say this here, if I were to want to take a mask and do a gradation on this object, I can grid it and create this grid. You have a level of gravity to where your cursor will snap to that, and I'm going to pull a vignette within the mask mode. And we're going to make the top to bottom, and I'm going to change the top opacity to 0. And make a segment that I it's going to go on, say, the edge of this glass. So I'll just get a basic sizing here. Okay, so here's our top to bottom. Actually, we should make it left to right to make a little bit more sense here. So we'll go into replace mode and say part. And again, with the grid, because we're using a grid, I got it exactly over the area that I had dragged it before.